Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Celtic FC Appreciation Show. It's Gaz Meets, another episode of Gaz Meets. And today I'm delighted to announce that we've got author Jamie Boyle and former Celtic midfielder and coach Alan Thompson on the show. Obviously, Alan's got his new book out that Jamie's wrote. It's Alan Thompson, a Geordie boy. It's available from all good booksellers, Warcry Publishing, Amazon, and wherever else you get your books, kind of thing. So we're going to be talking to the guys about their careers, about their lives today. Hopefully, we'll not keep them too long. I know they're busy guys and they've got other stuff to be getting on with. We want you to get involved. So any questions or comments you have for them, just get them into us and we'll try and get through them. A wee competition we're running today also. Jamie's very generously offered to send a signed copy of the book out to somebody that's viewing the podcast today. So in order to win, all you need to do is tell us your favourite Alan Thompson goal for Celtic, and Alan will pick the winner at the end of the interview. If you want to check out our new YouTube channel for any missed podcast episodes or daily Celtic content, just search for us on there. And also our sponsors, 67Ts, check them out on Instagram. So, guys, first of all, Happy New Year. Hope the festive period was good.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, guys, looking forward to talking to you for quite a while.
Yeah, so as I say, we'll get comments on and everybody's viewing the stuff. So we'll start off with the book, guys. Alan, I know you weren't ever planning. It's not something you were ever planning to do. Was an autobiography. So, in terms of how persuasive was Jamie when the idea came about?
Well, he got in touch with us on through Twitter, really. So he pursued us a little bit, but apparently I didn't follow him back straight away. I followed a couple of his mates back before I followed him. So he took the hump. He kept tweeting me, and eventually I followed him back. So then he started messaging me and give me the invitation to possibly do the book, and then had to think about it. And then I thought, yeah, why not? My time's now. I feel like doing it. A lot of the other lads have already done them, you know, Sutty and Stillian, Lenny, Jackie, Big John Hodgson. So I just thought it was my time. You know, I've been quiet for a long time, and I thought now was a good time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I've always loved. I've always loved reading autobiographies. I love finding out about people and people's lives and what they get up to, either off the field or off camera, kind of thing. And obviously, Jamie, in terms of, I'm really interested to get your take on some things as well. If I can just ask you, obviously, anyone that's followed your career, obviously you've got a passion for boxing and true crime, as well as being a big Celtic fan, a big football fan. How excited were you to get Alan signed up for this project?
It was one of them. You know what it was? I mean, Alan was my 20th book, and I've done a lot of bad guys, I suppose. A lot of people who, you know, if you were having a party, you'd want them under the stairs. You wouldn't want to associate with them. Albeit some are very interesting. You know, they're not the kind of nice people, and you know, it's in that kind of life when you're associating or you're working with kind of bad guys. The death threats come and all this starts something from anxiety, and you know, basically it was like, look, I'm a massive Celtic fan. My dad was Glaswegian. I've lived in Glasgow for parts of my life, and I knew what Alan Thompson was, and I have spoken to a couple of footballers before. I remember talking to Neil Maddison, who played for Middlesbrough a couple of years back, and I thought I would have had to maybe start off on like some low league players, and when I first reached out to Alan Thompson about 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years in the April.
Jamie,
I just said,
Jamie, you can call me Tomo, you know.
Yeah. But anyway, it was the April. I've got a good memory, and I just put, "Get your book done. I'd love to read it." And I never ever heard from him. It was just purely as a fan. And it was last December, so 13 months ago, I messaged him again because my friend Paul Venice, kickboxing world champion, got a follow off him. And I was like, hang on a minute. I was a bit put out, and I kind of followed him and unfollowed him and trying to get his attention. And I did, and I said, look, why don't you do your book? And by then, I'd got really, still sound big-headed, but I've got good. I know my way around books. I know exactly the ins and outs of what you should and what orders. And I just said, look, and I basically pushed the boat out and said, look, I was a bit desperate, but I thought, you know what, if he doesn't, I'm going to have a bloody good go. And I knew I could do his story justice. And, it's worked brilliant for me now because I'm getting so many kind of follows and, interesting people and famous people, that are linked with me, and possibly my work's just kind of, and also I want to get out the, I'd like to do a long line of footballers' books, sportsmen's books. So it's been really, really fantastic. I owe Tomo, I don't think he realises, the last thing I'll say was he took a chance on me, I suppose. So I'll always be eternally grateful.
That's superb, and obviously, you talk about in terms of other books that you brought out, Paul Sykes, you've mentioned, is the idea of doing that behind a series of books, all which raise money for, I believe, the Bradley Lowry Foundation and the Sowing Seeds Ministries charity. I mean, was that something that's close to your heart as well? That was obviously it was something.
Right. Well, basically, because I've done work on such bad guys. I mean, I've spoke to Bradley Lowry's parents, and we did a night a couple of years back. And for people who always say, how can you have a little angel compared to a monster and all this? I just, a lot of my books support fantastic causes. I mean, Tomo's book supports 4 registered charities. So I don't want to. I want, yes, some of the people that the majority of people I've worked on are not very nice people. So I wanted some kind of goodness to come from it, and paying to the likes of some of the places I have, like Middlesbrough Cancer Ward, and that it's give that little bit back that no offer does. Yeah,
and I think you mentioned the charities that Alan's book is going to is going to benefit. Obviously, I think it's Bobby Robson Foundation, the Alan Shearer Foundation, Celtic Foundation, and the Ian Watson Charity Fund. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
that's right. That's it's 4 charities that are that do great work, and it's just. I mean, some people say you just support one, just support 2, but listen, it's not all about take for me. Like Jamie just said, it's about giving a little bit of something back. Listen, it might only be a little bit, but it's just a little gesture from me to support some charities that are close to my heart.
Yeah, and Alan, let's go back to a place close to your heart as well as you started playing professionally at Newcastle. I don't know if you can see the top behind me. That's my English team. I've been a massive Newcastle fan most of my life, and as I say, so it's a place I know well. It's a place that I love. So professionally, as I think a 18-year-old, how massive was that for you? Not only for you, but your family, I suppose.
Well, it's probably the equivalent of you and Jamie, playing for Celtic. I was born and bred and brought up a Newcastle fan. So as a kid growing up, that was my first step that I wanted to achieve, and was play for the Black and Whites in front of the Gallagher end. So to get to do that as a young lad was an absolute privilege, especially how difficult it was to get there because of the bad car accident I had when I was 16. So just to pull that black and white strip on play on St James's Park, even though it was only 20 times, it was 20 times. If it had been once, I'd have been happy. But if you had said to me as a young kid, 7, 8, 9-year-old, you're going to play for Newcastle United, I'd have snapped your hands off. So it was a boyhood dream and something that I'm absolutely, still proud of to this day.
Yeah, and do you remember much about your debut?
I was talking about it yesterday. I was sub, as it happened. And one of the lads got injured in the warm-up, lad called Lee Clark. who a lot of people will know because he used to be manager of Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
Lee got injured in the warm-up, and Ozzy Ordiles comes in and goes, "Tom, are you playing?" So it was like, I didn't have any time to think about it, so it worked out well, because had I known the day before that I was starting, I might not have slept the night before, so I only had 5 or 10 minutes to think about it, and the game was kicking off, so it was shin pads on and out you go, so straight into it.
Yeah, sometimes that's the best. That's the best way to be. So, obviously, after making your start in football, you got to move to Bolton Wanderers in 1993. I suppose we first tasted success. I believe you scored against Liverpool in the League Cup final, although you lost the game. I mean, that must have been a massive moment for you in your career, scoring at Wembley.
I think that season we played twice at Wembley. We played Liverpool in the League Cup final. Steve McManaman scored their 2 goals, and I scored a consolation goal for us. Although it was a good one, didn't mean much. And we played Reading in the playoff final, and we beat them 4-3 after extra time to get to the Premiership. So I had some great times at Bolton. Some real success for a pretty, not a small club, but certainly not a giant of England or a Celtic or a Rangers, but it was just a really good club that was good for me at that time in my career. Played a couple of 100 games there before I moved on, and like I say, it was a great grounding for me. Played with under 2 or 3 great managers, and learned an awful lot in my time there, so it stood me in good stead later on in my career.
Yeah, and obviously played with some big names as a youngster. John McGinley was a massive goal scorer for the club. Owen Coyle is a favourite with Celtic fans in Scottish football. Jason McIntyre mixed with Pat Linen, who was up here as manager. Dean Holdsworth as well. 2 promotions, a League Cup final, eventually playing the top flight. I believe he scored not only the first goal at the new Reebok Stadium, but also, I think, United Bolton's first Premier League goal in the new campaign against, I think it was Crystal Palace. Am I right in saying?
I think it might have been Wimbledon. I think, but it was at Selhurst Park. But Wimbledon were playing at Selhurst Park, so yeah, scored the first goal at the Reebok. Scored in the last game at Burnden Park as well before we moved to the Reebok, and then the first Premier League goal. So yeah, a couple of a little hat trick of firsts there. So no, great times at Bolton, and the manager was Bruce Rioch at the time, was obviously Scottish as well. Alan Stubbs, who you didn't mention, who later went on to play for Celtic. Stubbs, who was a great player. No, we had a lot of good players and a lot of crack in the dressing room, with McGinley and Coyle, as you said. Andy Walker, another ex-Celtic player. So it was a great dressing room to be in at that time, yeah. Yeah,
and Jamie, I believe you're actually hail from the Brighton area of Glasgow. I mean, you couldn't tell from your voice, but your accent. But I mean, how was that growing up there? I know you moved down to England pretty soon after. But as a Celtic fan, how difficult was that to then get to the games, kind of thing?
I mean, my dad had me from. I used to go to probably double figures every year from the age of 2 to about 12. I mean, my cousins. Do you remember Graham Dott, the snooker player, world champion?
Yeah.
He's my dad's full cousin. They're all staunch Rangers fans, so we're probably the only Catholic family ever out of Brighton. But yeah, and I went up and I lived in Glasgow when in 1998. I used to work in Parkhead Forge, and so I've always been aware of the Glasgow mentality, the Goldfish Bowl. And I think that's what kind of. I mean, I was a bit worried at one point when I was talking to Alan, thinking he was going to go to other people. An offer I won't name, and I remember thinking, well, you won't have the Celtic mind that I've got. But yeah, it's it wasn't much fun growing up, and Celtic back in 1990, 91, 92, 93, Lou McCartney, Liam Brady. It was no fun being a Celtic fan back in them days. I'll never forget one weekend, Rangers beat Celtic 4-0 on a Saturday, and then the next day, Liam Brady was commentating on Italian football on Channel 4, and it's like everyone in Glasgow has gone mental, beating the wives up and all that, and this guy's here 24 hours later acting like nothing's happened.
Yeah.
So you know, I understand what the divide is in Glasgow. You know, I'll never forget one day I was walking my dog across Glasgow Green, 1998, and I had a Celtic top on. And this guy come up, and his dog went for my dog, and he ran up and he brayed his dog, and he said, "What have I told you? You don't fight for the tin dogs." And then, you know, and so if I had a Rangers top on, I would have been all right.
Yeah.
I remember getting a job in Glasgow, and then the week after, the boss said to me, if you'd have told me you're a Celtic fan, I wouldn't have given you the job. That's what it means in the city. So although, you know, I've predominantly grew up most of my life in England, I'm very aware and very switched on of that kind of Glasgow thing.
Yeah, and obviously, like, you know, obviously, I says to these guys that I'd started this in February, this podcast, and, you know, the people I've had on, it's brilliant. And sometimes it's just brass necking it and asking people to come on. And sometimes you need to go through management companies and things like that. But in terms of, you know, you've had 20 books out. When was the moment that you realised that that's what you wanted to do, that was your passion?
I wasn't full time until my 5th book. So I did the first 2. And I mean, this is probably 1 in a million chance. I've done my first 2. They were bestsellers and Amazon bestsellers, and Wakefield wouldn't. So the first 2 were on Paul Sykes, and Wakefield Waterstones wouldn't touch me. And the reason was it had been 10 years since Paul Sykes' death. So they remembered him outside when he was giving him abuse and all that. I'd done a boxing book, and that probably flopped. And it wasn't until I'd done the Lee Duffy book. And to give you an example how successful that book was, 30 was stolen in 1 month from the Middlesbrough shop. And, you know, that was like, you know, I'd done it. I didn't even know if I was any good. Left school, no exams. Although I was top in my English, I was a waster at school. I was more interested in football and boxing and shotting rubbers at people's heads and making jokes. And you know, it was when that book come out, I thought, hang on a minute, I'm working and I've just earned $3,000. And I thought,
yeah.
And that was, I thought, hang on, I might be good at this. And you know, and I've done books I'm not really that interested in, some people, but with Alan's, you know, I mean, I got into writing, and it wasn't for any money. If I'd have got any money, great. If I didn't, but if someone had said to me at the start, "Do you want to do Alan Thompson's book for free?" I would have still done it. So that's what it was. It was like I don't think Alan Thompson could have ever found anyone who was as excited and passionate as I was. And you know, I think that's a reflection that every single day I'm just pushing it under people's noses. And you know, if anyone knows anything about books, that's how you be successful. You know, the days are gone. 20 years ago, John Blake was shot in stupid money. These days, Kindles are selling for 99 pence, and Amazon are taking 70 pence. So you've got to move the times. And James English said to me a couple of years ago, he said, "You're the first thing I see on the morning and the last thing I see at night." And that's how I am, and that's how I've been successful. And
tell us about it.
But that's how I plan on being. I'm quite hyperactive, and you know, my addictions now. I'm one of them people who get addicted to blue Smarties. So now I'm addicted to just working 7 days a week and just doing all things. But you know, to do Alan Thompson's book, who I watched. I was at most of the games. You know, and I know I always felt a bit sorry for him at the end because he deserved better, the ending he got, as did Chris Sutton. And I'd like to think, with me doing the book, along with the millions of Celtic fans worldwide, that this book has given a bit of, you know what, you're one of us, you're loved, and you'll never walk alone. And that's what I finished. I think that's what I put in the introduction. That was my point across. It was like, you know what, you know, Thompson, Ali McCoy said to me, he said he was just one of them people who just got it. you know, there's a lot of Italians and Spanish people and even English guys who've come up and they thought, oh, this is easy. And they played 2 or 3 games, have never been seen again. Where Thompson was just like, you know what? You know, and yes, he scored goals. Yes, he got sent off. Yes, he caused fights. But the Celtic fans, it was just like watching one of them. And I think that's why Alan Thompson as a whole is so massively loved by the adoring fans.
Yeah, and I think just the sentiment, echo that sentiment. I think because personally, my one of my favourite goals by Alan was definitely the one at I think it was one at Ibrox where you just dribbled from the byline past a couple of players and put it right in the bottom corner to win the game. I think it was. I'm not sure if that was the second one, Tomo. I don't know if you remember that one, but I think it might have been 1-0 up at the time.
I remember getting the ball on the wing, and I wasn't a Bobby Petter, so to speak, who would dribble past 3 or 4 men on a regular basis. So I was more of a bit of a pass and move type of player, if you want, and get it out your feet and cross it. But I remember it was a little tight space and just jinking in, and it was on my right foot, which is normally just for standing on. So I thought, we'll have a little swing at this, and it was nice to see it roll in the bottom corner. So listen, I scored. I was fortunate enough to score 7 Old Firm goals, and there's 1 or 2 decent ones, and there's a couple of tap-ins, but I didn't mind as long as we got something out the game. So the 7 goals I actually scored, we either drew or won. So I never scored in an Old Firm game when we lost. So that's a little omen.
That's quite a good record. But in terms of Stephen Lennon just says, how you doing, Alan? Seeing you at the Larson Hartson experience at the Hydro, had a great night. How was that for you? I mean, obviously the atmosphere looked amazing. How was that reliving everything?
It was absolutely fantastic. I mean, a Monday night in Glasgow, and you get in between 12 and 14,000 at the Hydro. So, but it was a great turnout. Henrik was obviously there. Martin was there, or the gaffer, should I say? Only Sutty can call him Martin. Big John, Jackie Mack, Lubo. So it was a fantastic night, and there was some great crack and some great banter, and I think the fans enjoyed it. And although Chris Sutton tends to get the last word, he certainly didn't that night. Martin got it. So we had a cracking night, and then it's good to catch up with everyone, and then we had a few beers after. So it was a great night, and like you say, talking about the past and stuff like that was great.
Yeah, as I say, it's brilliant that you're part of such an iconic Celtic side that was so full of success, and obviously when you go back to 1998, and you got a big money move at the time to Aston Villa, spent the next 2 seasons in the Midlands. It was, I suppose, an injury plight spell there. I don't think you played that as much as you really liked, obviously. But in terms of, I think it was John Gregory that brought you to the club?
Yeah, it was John Gregory's first signing. So it started off well. From the start of the season up until Christmas, we were top of the league, and I was playing week in, week out. And then it was after the Christmas I'd done my ankle, and it just seemed to just go downhill from then. So I was just hanging around and not playing much football. And then when the call come from Martin to go to Celtic, it was a no-brainer for me. I'd spoke to him previously before I went to Villa when he was a Leicester manager, so I knew him and he knew me. So, but once that call came, it was a no-brainer for me. I just wanted to get me kit, get me boots, and get in the car and get up to Glasgow and speak to him.
Yeah, and obviously the team went on I think a 12-match unbeaten run at the start of the season, finished 6th, and then in your following season another 6th place finish. I think he's missed out in the FA Cup. Was it the League Cup, actually, you missed out on?
We got beat in the final off Chelsea.
Yeah.
It was the last final at the old Wembley. And bizarrely enough, I wasn't even stripped. So it was one of those, it was up in the bar and have a few drinks before the game and stuff like that. And as I said, we were playing Chelsea, and Chris Sutton was left out the Chelsea squad as well. So little did I know, probably in about 6 or 8 weeks' time, that Big Sutty and myself would be teammates, and then become really, really strong friends after that.
Yeah, I mean, am I right in saying that was the one with the fastest ever goal, or is that a different final? I'm thinking,
No,
is
that
that
was
the
that
Di
was
Matteo goal? I'm thinking.
That was a different one. I think the goal was late on in the game, so the beat
I think it was. Do you know what it was? It was Chelsea Middlesbrough, I was thinking.
Yeah, it was Middlesbrough when Di
but
Matteo
round
scored.
about that time, yeah.
No, it wasn't a great game, but Chelsea won 1-0, so I was happy.
So basically, yeah, as I say, like, if you want to win a signed copy, guys, obviously there's a few people watching us. I know it's no the ideal time in terms of people who still be at work, but obviously get your comments in and get your favourite Alan Thompson goals in to win a signed copy of the book. We've already had one entry, which is the only entry, so it might just be this one. My personal favourite Tomo goal, says William Brawley, the last minute screamer against Rangers off the underside of Kloss's crossbar. Am I right in saying that was... And I know it wasn't the free kick, because I was thinking of the free kick at first. To score the third goal, we won 3-0. But I'm trying to think of the goal, actually. I don't know if you can enlighten us, Alan.
Which one?
The one last minute against Rangers off the underside of Kloss's crossbar.
That was the one when it comes into the box and it gets headed out, and I trapped it with the sole of my boot and hit it with a little bit of swaz, shall I say. So Kloss tried to save it, but he was never saving it.
Yeah, and Michael, who runs the page, one of my mates, just saying, would love to know what was said during the Lovenkrands incident, #cheat. I take it, would that have been the Scottish Cup final, maybe? Against Rangers?
I think it might have been the one at Ibrox when I got a red card when he went down as though he'd been hit with a double barrel shotgun. But I probably couldn't say it live on air what I was saying to him. But you probably got a good idea.
yeah. I'm sure you can tell me off air later on. So in terms of Jamie, coming back to you, after all the publications you've released, how does it feel this is an Amazon bestseller, sitting at the top of the table? Does that push you to go on and do more projects like this in sport, in terms of footballers?
Well, it's actually my 10th Amazon bestseller. It's definitely, it's definitely. I mean, listen, I've been to functions, Celtic functions over the years where I've paid to listen to the stories that I've been paid for. So, I'll never forget we hired John Artson a couple of years back at my old Celtic club. I bought him a bottle of Beck's, and this is really cringy, but I'll tell you because I don't mind having a laugh. I bought him a bottle of Beck's, and I was sat having dinner with him. My wife actually was sat on his knee having a picture, and I kept the bottle of Beck's, like he was Elvis Presley. So, no, do you know what? I'm just hoping it's the first start of many, because I've kind of, I remember James English saying to me a couple of years, Jamie, you've completed True Crime. And I've done all the ones I only really wanted to do, Paul Sykes and I suppose Lee Duffy. And last couple of months I've spoken to. I'm meeting Didier Gat shortly. Ricky Burns has got 2 more fights, and then I'm going to sit down and negotiate with him, Scotland's greatest ever fighter. Mentioned to John Artson, possibly doing an addiction book. So these are the ones that, Alan Thompson, I need to call him Alan there, but then I quickly. So Tomo is basically kind of opened the door, and it's almost like doing an Ouija board and then unleashing bad spirits. It's like,
I hope I'm getting a percentage, am I?
Yeah, possibly. Well, do you know what? It's opened the door because I've got Junior Witter after. I don't know whether you're a boxing fan. He was a WBC world champion, mandatory to Mayweather, nemesis to Ricky Hatton. But as soon as I've done them, I'm like, do you know what? I've spoken to so many people this last couple of years, like even in the last year, and been like, I had posters of you on my bedroom wall. I've got posters. I'm not as bad now because the wife has, but probably 15 years ago when Tomo was playing for Celtic, my full house was like a 14-year-old's bedroom. It was probably a bit embarrassing, but it was like, that's how Celtic was my life, and it meant a bit more to me in them days than it did now. But you know, I've met a lot of people the last couple of years, famous, infamous, notorious. You know, I've met members of the Crave family and had tours and boxes and all this. But when I meet any Celtic players, I mean, I was sat with Martin O'Neill for about six months ago, and I had to like every time I'm in someone's company like that, I go back to that 8-9-year-old boy hanging around Barrowfield for autographs with my dad. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah,
it's just, I always will be like that. Celtic's my soft spot in life, and it's my passion. And yeah, if I'm honest, I'd like to go through the full Celtic team like a hot knife through butter. That's my plan. I don't know whether I will or not, but you know, I would love to do Geordie Samaras's and Autobiography and you know all these people I spoke to the last couple of months. I said, listen, if you ever want a book, keep my number and I'll give you a deal that can be met. And
yeah.
that's thankful to Tomo, so I'll always be grateful for him.
That's amazing, and as I say, it's just the passion you have for doing these books, and obviously, just in terms of like when you look at, obviously your passion is mainly true crime and boxing and things like that. Is there anybody in the past that's maybe not even here anymore that you would have loved to have written about, to have worked with and sat down?
Well, yeah, funny you should say that. And last night I watched a documentary about him, and I remember having quite a bit of a discussion with Martin O'Neill. So Brian Clough. So I grew up in Berwick Hills, and Brian Clough was from Groveville, which is one of the roughest parts of Middlesbrough. And I sent him there was a statue of Brian Clough, and I sent it to Martin last night. And I was watching his documentary last night, and I used to see him quite a lot in Middlesbrough when I was a kid. Maybe 14, 15, but I didn't appreciate who he was. And he died when I was about 24. But I would love to sat in his company. And Martin told me a couple of stories about him. Because obviously Martin O'Neill has based a lot of his management skills around Cloughie.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, one guy I would love to meet, and this is probably going to sound a bit bizarre, is and I probably would get really starstruck with him, is Graham Souness. Proper man, proper footballer, tackle a brick wall, 3 European Cups. He is just the ultimate. That guy had everything, and in my opinion, one of the greatest footballers Britain's ever produced. Yes, he was a Rangers manager, but he was also a Scotland great, and I'm a big Scotland fan also. So. But yeah, you know, there's so many books that I would love to, you know, even not as good as Alan Thompson. You know, I'm sure probably Paddy McCourt's book would be iconic. You know, just anything with. I want to basically, if it's not Celtic, I want to stay around the Scottish sporting scene. I was talking to Scott Harrison a couple of years back. I was going to do that, and I decided against it for reasons I don't really want to go into. But you know, that I'm using Bell and Bain now, which are the biggest bookbinding company in Scotland. So my plan is to basically do a lot and be around the Scottish media quite a lot. You know, it's I thought with Tomo's book it might have been a lot easier than all the criminals I'd done, but it could be a little hard work at times. But so can I. But no, do you know what? It's been fantastic for him, and I'll be forever grateful.
Yeah, and as I say, like, you know, Tom, I'm delighted to get you guys on, honestly, because anybody that I get on to interview, I'm really grateful that you give up your time to sit down and chat to us. Stephen Lennon says, maybe not my favourite Tom goal, but probably the most important one is a free kick against Liverpool in the UEFA Cup at Anfield. I remember that well. I remember that run well. That was obviously to set us on our way, Alan, to a famous win at Anfield. How big was that night, and especially after the full-time whistle in the dressing room?
Well, it's funny because, you know, a lot of the time in my time at Celtic, we portrayed as a long ball team, and when you look at some of the players in that team, I said to a guy yesterday on a podcast, I said, you know, everything went through the midfield. Neil Lennon couldn't pass the ball more than 10 yards. So I don't know where they get the long ball team from. You know, Didier Gat didn't pass the ball. He just ran with it. Stillian Petrov. Stillian was a proper footballer. Paul Lambert was a proper footballer. Bobo didn't pass it. He obviously just headed it. You know, you've got Chris Sutton, Henrik Larsson, John Hartson, myself, Jackie McNamara, and people are saying, "Oh, that you're a long ball team." But that night at Anfield, we played them off the park. We didn't go there and nick a 2-0 win. We went there and played them off the park and thoroughly deserved to win 2-0. So that's one of the best nights of my career, without a doubt. And to put us on our way just before half time with a free kick was a big bonus going into the dressing room at half time. You know, back on level terms with him. And we fancied ourselves second half, and then Big John smashes in a great goal. And you can only imagine after the game, you know, the trip back to Glasgow, the flight, we flew back to Glasgow from Liverpool, John Lennon Airport. So it was a great short flight, but it was a good one, you know. So just great memories, and the full run. Even now, if you're on holiday and you bump into Celtic fans or in the street, if you're in Glasgow, people want to talk about the memories of that run. So obviously there's a lot about it in the book. And obviously we just fell short at the final hurdle in the final against Porto, but it's still great memories nearly 20 years on.
Yeah, and obviously to beat a team like Liverpool, who, you know, won the European Cup so many times, it was a remarkable achievement. I think probably overlooked at the time. I don't think it got the credit it deserved. Michael up again wants to know who was the gaffer's pet during Tomo's time at Celtic.
Without a doubt, there's only one winner. He's a bit of a media pundit now. He's a centre forward. He's English. So he was the only one. He's the only one who can call the gaffer Martin. It's like a father and son relationship with the gaffer and Sutty. So it's got to be Sutty without a doubt.
I can't imagine Sutton being a teacher's pet kind of thing. But
Yes.
I'll probably never look at him the same again on the TV. So obviously, you know, Tom, Martin O'Neill brought you to Celtic. Long-term deal, was that a sign of confidence for you and your part? Was it a comfort for you and your part that you know, despite not playing many games at Aston Villa, you got an injury? Was that Celtic went all in? Because Celtic nowadays don't give out long-term contracts generally.
Well, I think I was a good age. I was 26, so I think Martin knew I had a few years in me. So not only did I sign a long-term contract, I then signed an extension about three or 4 years into it as well. So that just shows faith from the manager. And I think as a player at any club, if you're doing well, you get a new contract or you get looked after. So that was Martin showing great faith in me, and he'd done it with a lot of people as well at the time. Didier Gat come in for 50,000 quid, which was an absolute bargain. Got a long-term contract. Chris had signed from Chelsea. Lenny from Leicester. Big John comes in as well. So it was a big project that Martin was doing at the time, and one that I wanted to be around. So I was happy to sign a long-term contract without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you say, you had mates. You talked about Stubbsy, obviously. I think Tommy Johnson, who was at the club at the time. In terms of, did you realise how big a club Celtic were before you went there? In terms of what did you know of Scottish football?
Oh yeah, I think half my mum's family are Irish, the Kellys, and I knew what the Celtic family was all about. And then obviously you mentioned people earlier who I played with at Bolton who were huge Celtic fans: John McGinley, Owen Coyle, Andy Walker. So I knew all about it, and followed it from an early age. Would often watch Old Firm games when I was a kid growing up, and you had Newcastle fans who were some Celtic fans and some Rangers fans. I'm sure you'll know that, being a black and white yourself.
Yeah.
So you always got a bit of banter at Newcastle games between the Rangers and Celtic fans when I was a kid as well. So it was fascinating stuff. But I think it's not until you actually join the club and get involved and you start travelling around the world, playing games in America, Australia, the Far East, until you actually realise how big it actually is. It's worldwide, which is there's not many clubs in Britain that are worldwide. Probably a handful. So Celtic being one of them.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, we were speaking earlier on about during the 90s, growing up in the 90s. I was kind of growing up in the 90s as a Celtic fan, and it was a tough time, and we didn't win many trophies, and I can remember a mate of mine that I work with, I used to work with. He's English, and he's not really into football or sport or anything, and he just kept saying to me, "Does it not get boring winning all the time, being a Celtic fan?" And I'm saying, do you know what? It really doesn't, because if you were about the 90s, it was horrible. It was a horrible time. So it doesn't get boring. Success, it just follows success, and
well, that's
and
the thing. That's the thing. Winning and success winning's the best habit you can ever have.
Yeah.
If you can get into the habit of winning and achieving things, then you're not going to fail. So no, you never get sick of winning. Let me tell you.
Yeah, and
I'm just gonna have to try and find a charger. My phone's going flat.
Yeah,
Jamie,
no worries, mate.
Jamie, crack on for it till I get a charger.
No worries. Jamie, obviously you spoke about Martin O'Neill, and that you spoke to him. What was your first thoughts on first your first encounter with him?
It was a bit surreal because, I've got to talk to a lot of people, and Alan Shearer, and obviously in the books I've met a lot I've went for dinner, I've had people come and stay at my house, and I never quite got used to my phone ringing, and I'd go to the wife, "Look at that, Martin O'Neill's ringing me." I'd be like, and it's like I went for dinner with him, we had cups of tea and cake and all this, and to be honest, Martin didn't really want to talk about Celtic or Alan Thompson for that matter, because he's a huge true crime fan.
Yeah.
So when he found out who I was and what I'd done, and I was in London doing video and bits about Jack the Ripper, he was just dropped Alan Thompson like a hot potato. He just wanted to know about Jack the Ripper and some of the cases he'd sat in the Old Bailey and listened to. But I didn't forget who that guy was. I'll never forget him starting for Celtic in July the 1st, 2000, standing on them steps of Celtic Park saying, "It's an absolute honour. It's an honour, and I will do everything." That iconic speech.
Yeah.
And I was probably a bit starstruck, and I'll never forget going to meet Henrik Larsson at Middlesbrough when he signed for Man United, and I got there early, and everyone had come out barring Henrik, and when I met him, I just walked, and there was a queues behind me because Ronaldo was yet to come out, and I was like, don't give a shit about him. I was just So them kind of people, they're just like, no matter how successful, how big I ever get, I'm not really asked about some people, but if I meet a Martin O'Neill or a Chris Sutton or an Alan Thompson or Jackie McNamara, I'm still like, and I always will be, even when I'm old, I'll still be that little boy, saying faster, Dad, faster, when I was running up the steps of Celtic Park and that. And that's just been me from day one, even when I used to box. I used to box in green tartan, thinking I was a Celtic warrior, Steve Collins, although I box with my face. So it's just everything about me has been Celtic. And, dogs. I named my son after Neil Lennon. Obviously, Tomo and him had, they've had a few issues, has been well spoken about. But I think if there was one person on the planet who was ever going to not put anything bad about Neil Lennon, it was me. Because I named not that Tomo was, because he's they've got the great friendship, and even though they're maybe not close now, they've always had that time together and they respect each other. But I named my son after him, so you don't get any Jameson Lennon Boyle. But yeah, it's been a real whirlwind meeting some of the people that I've grown up. Some of the best nights of my life. I'll never forget going to work. Cycling to work the next morning, I was 23, rough as Tarzan's feet, but Celtic had just beat Barcelona and Alan Thompson scored the winning goal, and that was just such a high, such a euphoric, and football can bring you so much high, some great times in life, and some extreme lows like rock bottom. Like the time Tomo talks about in his book, Fair Park, 2005. You know, that them goals went in, and I screamed at the wife, blamed her, and went and laid on my bed for about 4 hours, just couldn't speak. That you could never really get that in boxing or anything other than football. And it's when it's good, it's brilliant, but when it's bad, you know, some people think, oh, it's only a game, and you're like, shut up, it's not only a game. Because if it was, you could switch off, but you can't. And you dealt the cards you dealt with. And my dad was fanatical Celtic supporter. His dad was before him, and you know, although my sons haven't been, and you know, probably the wife said, look, just let them decide. For my sins, he's a Tottenham fan. I don't know why, but I had a very different upbringing, you know, so I was weird into me, and I didn't really get a chance.
Yeah, and Tom, I was just asking Jamie there about Martin O'Neill, when in terms of when you came to Celtic, when you first came to Celtic, what was it about him that you know? Did they sell the club to you? Did they discuss where he seen you playing and things like that, or was it just a case of he knew what he wanted to do and it was just right in there?
Sorry, Tomo. Sorry, Tomo. Before you answer that, can you just show Gaz your Martin O'Neill impression?
No, I can't do that. I'm really good at it when I've had a couple of Bacardis. I've not had a Bacardi at the minute. So,
okay. I'll do it next week.
You need to WhatsApp. You need to WhatsApp me later on the night then. I
will do it next Friday and green it. No, he just had an aura about him. He wasn't a coach, Martin. He didn't go on the training ground and tell us how he wanted to play and do this and do that. He set us up strong defensively. He liked his defenders to be defenders. He wanted his wing backs to cross the ball, and he wanted his midfielders to be strong. And he didn't complicate it. Very much like Jamie said before, a bit like the old school Brian Clough. He had his coach who worked with him, Steve Walford, who done the day-to-day coaching. And Martin was just a great man manager. He said the right thing at the right time, and it was phenomenal. And like Jamie just mentioned there, that Fir Park, it's mad as a footballer because all the highs you have, you know, you think of all the trophies we won. You wish you could bottle that feeling of winning and the adrenaline and the buzz. But you lose that over the years. You still have the memories. But like the Fir Park and the Kilmarnock last game of the season as well, and then Seville, that feeling stays with you for life. So when I think about those bad days, that feeling comes back when you think about those games. But when you think about the first season there, winning the treble, you don't get that high. You've just got a memory. But it's weird how you lose the good feelings of winning, but you don't ever, that feeling of Fir Park and Seville and Kilmarnock, you never lose that, which is really weird. I wish you could keep the good feelings and get rid of the bad feelings, but such is life. But Martin he was great at saying the right things at the right time.
Yeah, and obviously, like you just missed out in the 6-2, the demolition derby. Obviously, that would have wet your whistle. In terms of, talk to us then about, in terms of, because as fans, obviously, you know, when it comes to a derby game, you know, I can remember when I was younger, not being able to sleep the night before, thinking about the game, thinking about how it's going to go, and then, you know, the whole adrenaline of the whole day. And especially if you win, then it keeps going and you go into party mode. What's it like as a player, kind of in the build up to it?
Do you know, the days before, they're intense. You've got the media coverage, the training goes up a level in training. You know, you don't want players to get injured before big games in training, but such the way we trained, the intensity just went up. So when the intensity goes up, the risk of injury goes up, and everything just goes up a notch. And then, thank God for most of my time in Scotland, a lot of the old firm games were early kickoffs, you know, 12 o'clock, 12:15, 12:30, because there was a couple of evening kickoffs, and it's the longest day in the world when you've got an evening kickoff. You know, so at least when they're 12 o'clock or 12:15 or something, you're up, you eat your food and you're straight to the ground. You know, you haven't got time to think about it because, like you say, the excitement, the adrenaline, it can actually drain you before the game. So you've got to try and stay in the zone and stay focused. Otherwise, your emotions get hold of you, like they did with me on 3 occasions.
Yeah, and obviously, just in terms of, we've got another favourite goal from Michael McKeown. It says your goal against Barcelona, obviously, we spoke about earlier on, UEFA Cup. Ronaldinho couldn't deal with us that night and we won 1-0. Marshall debut as well. Am I right in saying the keeper gets sent off at half time in the tunnel?
Who, me?
No, the keeper.
Aye, Big Rab got
Big
sent
Rab,
off.
aye.
So
and David Marshall came in and the rest is history.
Aye, Motta got sent off and Rab got sent off and then Saviola got sent off. So it was 10v9 at the end. It was like a game of ice hockey, so it was mental.
How good a team were they at that time? You know, that was a massive achievement again. You know,
Barcelona.
Yeah,
they were unbelievable. I
Yeah.
remember the first 20 minutes in that game. We beat them 1-0. I remember looking around at some of the other lads, like, you know, Lenny and Stillian and Henrik and Sutty and that, and thinking, are you feeling the way I'm feeling? Because I'm pretty booked. You know, I was breathing out my arse, if you want. We couldn't get near them. 20 minutes, we couldn't get near them, and thankfully they didn't score. Because I think had they scored, they could have went on to absolutely paste us, because they were just a different level. So the fact that we hung onto their coattails and went on to beat them just tells you a lot about the mentality that we had in the dressing room and that Martin gave us to go on the pitch and beat teams like that, you know.
Yeah, and obviously going back to the derby games, one name that I want to bring up is obviously your relationship with Fernando Rickson, God rest him. You know, a really big relationship on the park kind of thing, but in terms of off the park, how was your relationship with him?
Well, we were never going to go out for a pint together, put it that way.
Yeah.
But God rest him, and you know, I would never speak ill of people who are no longer with us. But he was a fantastic player. You know, he won the joint Player of the Year award with John Hartson. So you've got to be a good player to win the Player of the Year award in Scotland. So he was a class act. But we did have our run-ins, you know, on and off the pitch. So a couple of stories in the book about fireworks and turning up on the front door with his dog and stuff like that. But we had nothing but respect for each other. But he knew when he played against me, and I knew when I played against him, it was going to be fireworks. He wanted to win and I wanted to win, and it never really went above. You know, we didn't do anything untoward. He never tried to hurt me. I never tried to hurt him. Although he might have tried to set my house on fire with a firework, but apart
As you
from
do.
that, I know. But he was a terrific player, and it's a great shame that he's no longer with us. But I know he'll be held by all Rangers fans in very, very high esteem.
Yeah, and Jamie, obviously you, like thousands of us, loved that team that Tomo was in. A bond that wasn't really there in the 90s. I think there was a disconnect with the fans and the players during that spell. But did you get to a lot of games when Tomo was in the team?
Well, I mean, I was going to games from the age of 2, but I can only remember. I was only aware of the centenary season in '88. So Celtic won the league in '88. It was a one-off. Then we won the league in '98, one-off. So from 2000 to 2005, and even though the leagues we lost in the last minute or two. So this has been like the greatest time in my life as a football fan. And Alan Thompson, among the other usuals, your Baldys, your Agats, Harts and Suttons, Lennon, Petrovs, so many familiar faces that were together for 4 or 5 years. That was, you know, I mean, I think I said on another podcast the other day, I thought maybe we could have, when Brendan took over, I thought this could be, you know, a chance to get back to that time. But, you know, although domestically we've done everything, European level, we were still kind of poor. So, you know, Alan Thompson, that period from 2000 to, I mean, I stopped kind of going to the games in 2012. My Celtic club folded. So that was the last time I'd been to a game. But other than that, I was going to like maybe up to 10 games a season. So, you know, I was very aware of Alan Thompson. You know, I watched all his career. Lots of it, I was there. You know, I was there when I think he scored one of his last goals against Armedia Bratislava.
Yeah.
I think it was the first game I ever took my wife to. And, you know, if I'd have sat there and thought, Shirley, in 16 years' time, this man's going to be walking into our house and just his underpants singing in the shower and all that, it would have been really sweet. But, you know, she remembers it. And it's just, I've just been greatly, hugely privileged to be given the chance. And obviously now, Alan Thompson looks great on my CV. So there's any footballers out there, you know, I've already done one that has done and it's only been out weeks. Amazon's the biggest selling platform in the world. So if you have a look at the Celtic section, it's, you know, and that's Celtic calendars, crosswords, just everything Celtic. Alan Thompson's #1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I can't ever, for the life of me, ever remember. And maybe I don't think I ever will. I'm 41 now. And I don't think I ever will enjoy my football as much as 2000 to 2005. And I've got Martin O'Neill to thank for that. So when I've been in his company and I've been sat thinking, fucking hell, you don't know how in awe I am of you. I watched one of his documentaries last night and he was saying, Brian Clough, the celebrities and the not celebrities, he said, listen, that man, when he walked in our room, he was a celebrity before celebrities come out. And of course, he had that very unique Middlesbrough accent. Alan Thompson's best friend, Peter Beagrie, is a former footballer. When I listen to him, it's like listening to a young Brian Clough. You know, but Cloughie was unique, and you know, I'd probably maybe see him as the greatest manager of all time. To win the league with Derby and then to win European Cups with Nottingham Forest back to back when when Liverpool were winning everything. You know, I was listening to Martin O'Neill talking last night about his time going to Anfield, and what he was saying, you know, it kind of, I mean, his forward in his book is just poetic. It's magical. It really, really is. When I first read that, I mean, Tomo was crying, and I had to I read it once or twice to think, Martin O'Neill written that? You just don't expect it to. It was just detail on top of detail, and when you're reading it, it's like you're there. So yeah, it's you know, I personally don't think I'll ever be involved with Celtic Football Club in the next, maybe in my lifetime, like I was in them special times. So, you know, Big Andrew's doing everything at the minute. The guy's really punching above his weight, and that man cannot have a bad word said against him for what he's done. Maybe even if he doesn't win the league this year, he's got the first trophy. He's rebuilt. To think we were 25 points behind last year, and you know, when Martin took over, I think Rangers won the league the year before by 21. So Martin, when he was signing the likes of Tomo and all them, was saying, look, I just want to stay within the neck to neck with Rangers for a bit. So for Martin to come on and win the league with as many points as it did, it was the stuff of Roy of the Rovers, Gaz.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember that season vividly. You know, the League Cup final against Kilmarnock, and all the league games and the 6-2 win against Rangers and things like that. But Tomo, I mean, it culminated obviously the first domestic treble for the club since 1969, culminating a 3-0 win against Hibs at Hampden. Glorious sunshine. I remember the day like it was yesterday. Jackie actually scored. Jackie McNamara randomly scored the first goal. I think he beat everybody's first goal scorer. Coutins was up in the air. I think he was 60-61. I always remember that price in my head. And I mean, in terms of stories, in terms of celebrations that night, how wild did it get?
Do you know what? I think it was I don't think it was too wild. I think it was just a lot of relief, because you win the League Cup and then you wrap the title up early, and then there's just a lot of pressure on, as you say, they haven't won the treble for how many years before that, and it was just something that we'd worked so hard for 10 months to try and do. Well, first and foremost, to win the league, that's what you want to do. But then you've got the cup in the bag, and then the league in the bag, and then you've just got the Scottish Cup final. Now, remember the day, like you say, I think we had the yellow strip on that day, didn't we? And it was sunshine.
Right,
To win 3-0 and to wrap it up was just then you're going down the history, And although we got close with the odd double after that, but that was a proper Rangers team that we overcome that season as well. You're talking proper players who they've spent big money on. Your Arthur Newmans and Alberts and people like that. So it was a huge achievement, and I think one that just kept. Once you've had a taste of it, like I said earlier, when you've been winning, you just want to keep winning. And we went on for another successful 4 or 5 seasons after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ryan Tobin just comments here. Stuttgart diving header, best goal for me. Could pick Barca, Rangers, or Liverpool, but easy options. So he's going with the Stuttgart game. That was obviously on the run to Seville as well.
He obviously doesn't want a book.
And was that not you? Was that not a goal? Did you score against Stuttgart?
I scored a flying header, but it certainly wouldn't be up there amongst my favourite goals. But obviously Ryan quite likes that one, so that's his opinion. But he's not winning a book. Sorry, Ryan, you'll have to buy your book, mate. You're not winning one.
He's actually just commented, ha ha ha, audible for me. So obviously, success follows success, and in your second season we retain the title. And despite losing both cups to Rangers, it must have been the fact that you were back playing so many games as a player. You'd finally got your feet under the table at Celtic. You were banging goals in. How pleasing was that to retain the title in the second season?
Well, I think that's your bread and butter, the title. That's the one you set out every season to win. That's the best team in Scotland wins the league. Although I do might disagree with that with the titles that we did lose by a point and a goal. I think we were the better team, but listen, you fall short at times. But just if you can go, and win the league, and it's obviously a 2-horse race. It's between us and the other mob. So obviously that was a great achievement winning the treble. But then to back it up and win the league again, that's what you set out to do at the start of the season. So that's when you're champions. Yeah,
and we obviously spoke, Guy, earlier on about the 2002-2003 season. The Seville season. Lost the league in the last day to Kilmarnock. Again, it's a game. I remember it. If I'm right in saying Gordon Marshall was in goals for Kilmarnock, and I've never seen him play as well as he played. I mean, I know we scored a lot of goals. I think was it 4-0 or 5-0 we won on the day?
I think it was 4-0, yeah.
Was it 4-0? And he made some saves, and I couldn't believe, especially as an ex-Celtic keeper, I thought, I could not believe the saves he was pulling off, and it came down to a goal or two, I think, in the end. Obviously that must have hurt on the last day, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, as I said, Fir Park and Rugby Park, them 2 days, they'll go down in 2 of the worst days in your life. Never mind your football career, in your life. So the feeling doesn't leave you, but it's you've got to take it on the chin, and you've got to go away and get strong and build up for the next season. Simple as that. Yeah,
and I mean, I can remember being in my local, watching the Kilmarnock game, and obviously it was the end of a long season. Wasn't long back from Seville. I was at Seville, wasn't at the game, but went for the day. An experience I'll never forget. And I can remember at the final whistle, despite being really, really gutted, I just applauded the players off the park, because I've never been so proud of a team. Because listen, you can forget your quadruple trebles and and unbeaten seasons and invincibles, and yeah, they're great achievements, and you're proud of the team. But I just thought what you guys went through as a squad to play that number of games, and to come out trophyless was absolutely, it was shocking. It was just, I know nothing went for us in the end, but in terms of I think a lot of fans really felt that bad for you, that we deserve something out of the season.
Well, we put a lot into the season, no doubt about that, and it is difficult. You're playing in the UEFA Cup, and you're playing on Thursday nights, and then you're getting back in the early hours of a Friday morning, and then you've got a game on the Sunday. You've got to try and pick yourself up, and we did that. Many occasions on that run to Seville, we had to pick ourselves up for a game. We might have been tired still from the Sunday, from the game on the Thursday, and the travelling, and might have had aches and pains or little strains and stuff, but we got on with it. And the fact that we pushed it right till the end of the season, to the last few minutes of the game, was a credit to the mentality that the manager installed in the players. But again, we just fell short. But it wasn't for the want of trying.
Yeah, and obviously in terms of then Seville was an unbelievable achievement to get there. The amount of fans that turned up. Were you surprised? I mean, obviously, you as a squad, you knew the Celtic fans, you knew how faithful they are, how loyal they are. Were you even surprised by how many had turned up, or were you aware of how many had turned up?
No, I don't think we were aware until after. We stayed out the way. We stayed in a place called Jerez, which was a good 45 minutes away. So. And then we only, even when we got to the stadium, it was the amount of people around the stadium. But I think we didn't get to see the scenes in the centre of Seville. So it was only afterwards, when you read and you see the photographs, that just how many of them turned out and spent a lot of the hard-earned money to get over there, even not to watch the game, just to witness the atmosphere. So it was obviously a special time for the supporters,
Yeah, and obviously, in the following seasons, you signed a contract extension with the club. Martin O'Neill's first final season, rather. You won the Scottish Cup final, scored the winning goal against Dundee United. Obviously had the pain of Helicopter Sunday, which we'll not talk about. Did you see yourself staying in the team until your contract ran out, and then possibly extending it, or was it a case of just playing it by ear at that point?
No, obviously Martin left and the new manager come in, and my time had come to an end. So it was, all good things come to an end. Like Jamie mentioned earlier, I would like it would have been a little bit different the way it finished, but it's one of those things I had to deal with and move on to the next stage of my career. I was 33. So I just wanted to play football, whether it was at Celtic or elsewhere. Then the manager made his mind up that he didn't want me to be around the place anymore, so I had to go. So be it.
Yeah, and obviously you then went to Leeds initially on loan. You done quite well. You settled in quite well down at Leeds United. Then signed a permanent deal, and obviously got made club captain, which must have been an amazing experience for you.
My old man, my dad was a Leeds fan, so I knew all about Leeds and the great team of under Don Revie and the players that played for them and stuff. So it was a great honour to play for Leeds, another big club. And then Dennis Wise gave us the captaincy. It was an honour to be captain of Leeds United. So, and then I just for whatever reason, I just felt like I wasn't up to the standards what I had been earlier in my career. So decided to call it a day.
Yeah, and then obviously you went back to your hometown. You went back to Newcastle as an academy coach. Kevin Keegan signed you up and got you in the role as coaching. Did that set you up for coming back to Celtic? I mean, obviously you wouldn't have been expected to. But
coaching was always something I was interested in, even from an early age, even as a young teenager. I was always interested. I would always speak to coaches at a young age, school teachers, because I was interested in it. And I started doing my coaching badges while I was still playing for Celtic. Probably the 2004-05 season, Lenny and I started doing our badges with the SFA. So it was something that I had my eye on for when I finished playing. in hindsight, looking back on it, I wish that I played for a year or two more before. But then the opportunity come to take the coaching job at Newcastle. I just thought it was too good to not to take, you know. But in hindsight, maybe I could have maybe played for a season or two more, definitely.
Yeah, and Jamie, obviously, you know, looking back, you're obviously a massive Neil Lennon fan as well as a massive Tomo fan. How delighted were you to see the pair reunited at Celtic?
Yeah, it was. Well, I remember being. Lenny Mowbray got sacked the back end of March, I think it was, early April. 4-0, we lost St Mirren, and obviously Robbie Keane and all them were there, but you know Mowbray. It was disastrous, really. And when Lennon got the job, it was kind of temporary. He done well. That was the last Old Firm game I was at. I think we won 2-1. Mark Vivian Fortuné scored and Mark Wilson. April 2010. And obviously, I'd just named my son after him 2 or 3 years before that. So, you know, and then he got the job. He proved himself. Of course, he made that iconic speech saying this isn't the end, it's only the beginning. Celtic Park was bouncing. Yeah. And it was an exciting time. So yeah, there was no one better for me to get the job than him. I thought he left a bit too early, 2014. He obviously wanted to have a crack at England. You know, I never really quite understood why he left. I thought, you know, he'd only been there. I'm just 3 full seasons, I think it was. 3.5, something like that. I would have liked to have seen him, but obviously Ronnie Darler come in and Lenny got the job, come back, won the treble. And, you know, this time last year, I think he was sacked in February. And let's be honest, I mean, the league was over in November. The league was over by Halloween. He should have really went then. I'm the biggest Neil Lennon fan in the world. But, you know, I think, yes, it wasn't nice to watch at the end, and Celtic were over loyal to him. It did get a bit messy. I think he's took it really hard. I think a lot of the problems have been, you know, you've read the media, you've seen him a few things. I think that's similar to what Tomo went through in his book, what he talks about. But I'd love to see him back in the game. And I mean, I went to meet him when Bolton come to Middlesbrough. I just to say got there, I shouted at him and he looked back, and I brought my son. So I never got quite to meet him, so I was a bit devastated. Little Jameson was smaller, and he just turned around and just looked. But you know, I don't know. I could have been anyone. But it was sad. It was sad the way it went. But you know, I mean, listen, people know Tomo and Lenny were close. They went through a lot in the playing days. You know, there's a fantastic chapter in the book about Shame Night, about what really went on with Lenny and McCoy, El Hadj Diouf, and you know, let's not forget Tomo was the guy who kind of put their Hearts fan off track when he's running on the pitch. So they've obviously been through a lot. You know, Tomo was kind of caught in a lot of Lenny's fire, shall we say, which the book talks about. You know, they've been close, and they've always had that bond. I think the friends that I don't know whether they'll ever get as close again. I don't know, who knows. But they've always had a special time, and you know, I had lots of fantastic years watching Thompson, Lennon, and Petrov. Them three were there from 2000 to, well, I'm just trying to think. So they were forever for like 2005. I think Tomo 2006 was drifted out, went to Leeds 2007. So for 5 solid seasons, they were the 3 team names on the team sheet, what was based around, and fantastic times for the club.
Yeah, and I think obviously, you know, you mentioned the relationship with Lenny, and obviously, you know, he was the one that wanted to bring you back, Tomo. You know, delivered success in your short spell at the club, winning the league, won the Scottish Cup, runners up in the League Cup. There was tumultuous times also. As I say, Lenny being attacked at Tynecastle, you were pretty sharp off your feet. I remember because the guy came from nowhere. You know, the guy came from absolutely. I think he actually might have came from behind the dugout. So I remember you being sharp off your feet, Tomo. You know, in terms of you talk about obviously in the book about the bust up with McCoist, with Lennon McCoist, and obviously for nobody that's heard it. I mean, was that a case of just tensions boiling over? Obviously, there's red cards for Rangers that night, and Juve was at it.
It's like Old Firm. It's an Old Firm game, you know. Tensions
Yeah.
are rising high, and everyone knows about the rivalry. And I don't know what Coisty's relationship was with Lenny, whether they like each other or they don't like each other. But you know, the two Old Firm managers, or Ali was assistant manager at the time, so there's a lot of tension in an Old Firm game, and Juve had been piping up on the pitch. So it's one of those things that it flares up, gets made a massive thing of it, the media. It's just one of those things. A day or two after, it's forgotten about. I know Ali and Lenny spoke after the game about it, so I don't know what was said after the game in the office when it was just the two of them there, but it gets put to bed quickly and you move on.
Yeah, and then obviously, you know, when the phone call came from Neil. I believe you were at the racing, at the horse racing with your partner and some friends. Did you have an inkling that something was up with the tone of his voice, maybe?
No, not at all. I was on the train on the way back from London. I'd been to the Derby at Epsom. I'm not a horse racing fan, but I'd been invited, so we'd had a nice weekend away. And then he called me and asked if I was in Newcastle. I said no. Said I was in London, just got on the train to go back to Newcastle. He said, I'm on my way down, need to speak to you. So as I talk about it in the book, the reasons behind it and what have you, and but I told him not to come to Newcastle, just turn his car around, go back to Glasgow. I didn't want to see him. He made his point clear. He wasn't prepared to back me, so on you go, do what you need to do.
Yeah, so what would it be safe to say you were more angry at Neil than the club, or was it were you angry at the club for?
I don't really want to go into that now. I think it goes into detail in the book about it, so I don't really want to go into that now. But I'm as honest as I can be about it in the book, and it's my side of the story, which I believe is true. Other people can say what they want, but I put it across as honest as I can be, and Jamie will vouch for that as well.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, the press can be unscrupulous, it can be nasty at times, and a lot of rubbish has been written about you. Obviously, did that make your life harder? Having to read that in the press.
No, because I didn't really go back to Glasgow after that. So I wouldn't have read the press, but it was just a difficult time because of the circumstances that happened, how it happened, when it happened. There was a lot going on in my life off the pitch at the time, so it just made it a very, very difficult time in my life. But thankfully, it's in the past now.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, talk about depression. It's always been a taboo subject for men until more recent times. You know, lockdowns had a lot to do with it as well for a lot of people. Would you say you really kicked on with? I believe you got in touch with, was it Tony Adams' charity, Sporting Chance?
Yeah, that was only about 18 months ago. But depression for me, I was never depressed. I never had depression when I was a player. It was only later on, after I left Celtic as a coach, that it started kicking in with me. So, but I lived with it for a long time before I seeked any help for it. So it's definitely something I know a lot of people suffer with, and a lot of people won't talk about it. Depression, anxiety, you know, a lot of things can cause it. And with me, it was the Celtic thing, the way I lost my job, how I lost it, why I lost it, a divorce, bankruptcy, which I talk about it all in detail in the book. So I just think a lot of people do suffer with mental health issues, and a lot of people bottle it up. But I think the longer you bottle it up, the harder it is to overcome it. So I've said it to people recently in the last few months, or last 12 months. I think anyone who has got it, anyone can get it. You know.
Yeah.
You don't have to be down in the dump. You don't have to be skint. You can be a multi-millionaire. I know people who are worth fortunes who've done the tragic thing, committing suicide. So I just think if people can talk about it rather than bottle things up, it definitely helps.
Yeah, and obviously you look at, for instance, Robin Williams. You know, was a prime example of you know, somebody who was the funniest guy in the world, and everybody thought, you know, or he couldn't possibly suffer with something like that, and it does hit everybody at different times in their lives. Obviously, in terms of, I know you said before that your kids were instrumental in pulling you through and getting you to the other side, and now you're happy in your life and you're settled with a new partner. I mean, how is things on the home front now in terms of, you know, are you at a place where you're really happy again?
Great. Yeah. Everything's good, and I'm getting out watching football again, and I'm going to watch a game tomorrow for a mate of mine wants me to have a look at a player for him. So it's just nice getting out. I was at Anfield watching Newcastle the other week. I was at Old Trafford for United v Burnley last week as well. So just getting out, watching all different levels of football, and hopefully an opportunity might arise in the coming months. Hopefully, touch wood, and get back in and give something back. You know, because I've got a lot to give.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask you in terms of, you know, your plans for 2022 in terms of getting back into football. You know, have you got things in the pipeline, or is it just see what happens?
It's just about getting out there and watching games and speaking to people, and it's just. But I haven't felt into it. I haven't felt up to it. I haven't wanted to do it for the last 3 or 4 years since I lost my job at Bury. It's only the last 3 or 4 months really that I've kind of felt myself, and I feel like I've back to normal and feel like I can give something back. Yeah,
and Jamie, tell us for any new fans that you will get off this interview, you know, what does 2022 hold in store for you?
Well, I've got five books coming out this year. One's about a Middlesbrough police officer who was around the Lee Duffy thing and all that. Hartlepool, born and bred. What else is there? There's a book on Jack the Ripper. I'm 10,000 words in. Liverpool crime lord Michael Showers. Oh, that's my last in true crime. Like for at least 5 years, maybe for good. And then I've got Junior Witter, who was completed boxing and done everything, barring have the big pay-per-view fights. And then after that, I just want to be doing footballers, Celtic players, boxers, Scottish boxers. To be honest, that's I've turned down so many crime now, and you know, lots of people, and I thought, oh, I would have bitten your hands off doing that, but now I think it's not worth it. And you know, I just want to get into a more positive genre, if you like. You know, maybe I might be wrong, and it might come out tomorrow. Alan Thompson's into cross-dressing and swinging and dogging. And there might be something like that.
Coming out in the news of the world,
I don't know. He might have some skeletons in his closet that I don't know. But yeah, I just want to be around nice people like Mr. Thompson and work my ass off, and but just have no more shit. And you know, my wife's recovered from cancer now. I'm a lot better with it. Yeah, my anxiety was really, really bad, and that was just on the back of doing all the work and 7 days a week. But you know, I've still got a bit to do with that, with the doctors and that. But yeah, you know, I've been and it sounds not big at it because it's a fact. I've done 19 books in 4 years to the week, so that made me probably most prolific author in Britain. I know the fellow author said, you want to check that out, that might be some kind of record, but it's what keeps me happy. So if I have a drink, then I won't do nothing that day, and then the next day I'll be hungover and down and depressed. So my addictions work, and I'm happy. I don't need to. So you know, we've got an evening with Alan Thompson a week today in Greenock, the Greenock Celtic Supporters Club on Laird Road, I think it is. So we're going to be there from 7 o'clock. And then what's that? So we've got an evening with Alan Thompson in Middlesbrough, Legends Bar. January the 22nd, that is £15 a ticket. If anyone fancies that, then give me a message on Twitter at Jamie Boyle 10. I'm going to be with Tomo, Liverpool, the 28th of January. Anyone who fancies that again can get in touch with me or Tomo. And we've got Newcastle, the Irish Centre, on February the 5th. I think we've got another couple of nights in Glasgow, the back end of February or March. So it's just all about working now, and hopefully I've cast my rod. Tomo's been my net, and I might catch a few more Celtic legends.
That's it. I mean, you put your name out there, and you build it for there. I know that for doing the podcast and the people that I've got on, and I'm hoping to kind of take this away from the Celtic page on Facebook and then get more people, because what I've found is certain people that I've wanted to interview haven't been able to come on because it's affiliated with Celtic kind of thing and such like. So I'm going to rebrand that side of things.
Can I just say, guys, with Tomo, I knew instantly people have energy, and I knew, like, say for instance, I'll do one or two that I've got possibly in the pipeline. I couldn't with him. I connected straight away. Maybe because we're two northeast lads, but he got me, and he kind of knew I was a bit strange and a bit weird and a bit. But I didn't have to pretend I was someone when I wasn't, and he knows me. He knows I've got his back. But I don't think it was instant. It was like, it was people have an energy, a vibe. And I can tell what people are like on social media before we even met him. But I don't think I could be my normal self to maybe a Didier Garcia more than have him over my out for a Parmo and be a bit strange, because it probably wouldn't work. But no, I'm really happy, and I'd like to think in 2 years' time, Tom Hall said, "You know what, Jamie, let's do that Celtic book called A Club Like No Other," and just all the ins and outs of Celtic, and I'd love to do that. So that's maybe another one for the future. Also,
can I just say as well, guys, he's talking about my skeletons in the closet and that. He sent us a video the other day on the toilet having a number 2 in his missus's dressing gown. So, so he couldn't talk to me about skeletons, pal.
That's a compliment, because I'm open to him, and I've trusted him.
That's how comfortable you are with him.
Yeah.
You wouldn't send that to Didier, though, would you?
No, I wouldn't send that to anyone.
Can I just say as well, guys, I know there's a lot of Irish people being on social media asking about Ireland, so I'm looking to do 4 dates in April. In one in Derry, one in Belfast, one in Cork, and one in Dublin. So there'll be an announcement coming in the next few weeks on that, because I think it's important that I get over to Ireland and obviously sign copies. People like signed copies, so I'll be doing hopefully 4 nights over in Ireland if we can just start getting the word out there. But I'll announce it on Twitter and stuff like that when I know the dates.
Can I just say that I've done a couple of documentaries. Obviously, the Lee Duffy Too Far Too Soon. Well, I've done 2 on him and someone else I don't really want to mention. But I've got talking to Fat Cat Productions, who they're just doing something now on Eddie Elwood, who's apparently it's going to Netflix. So I've been pushing Tomo to say, listen, we need to do a documentary, and he's giving me good signs. So in February, or maybe even a couple of weeks actually, when I've got him here in Middlesbrough, I'm going to get the film director here to have a word with him, and do maybe a film docudrama. Like obviously all his football, but the highs, the lows. Because I think he'd be fantastic, because the good thing with Thompson's book is it's not just a football book. When I first spoke to him, I didn't want him to talk about, in the greatest respect, Dunfermline away on a rainy Tuesday night. I've read other people's books, and I found that a bit boring. Tomo's is real life, depression, anxiety, up, down, lot of humour in it, and I never saw that when I took on the book. He's a very humorous person. Well, he was the life and soul of the Celtic dressing room, along with Sutton. But he hasn't been the Alan Thompson, his old self, for the last couple of years. I caught him just coming out of his bad phase. But it's been nice to know that the book has kind of put a part of his life away. And, you know, I'm not just saying it. I mean, I've done 20 books now. And I've never done one with anyone where they haven't avoided. He answered every question and more, where a lot of people said, "Whoa, I'm not going there," I'm not you know, and it was like,
yeah.
If it was up to me, I probably would have avoided a couple. And, you know, it was emotional. It was probably a bit stressful for him. It was bringing back old memories. You know, when you're talking about old things, smells come back to you, songs come back to you. And he spoke about parts of his life that had been buried forever. And that comes out in the book. And it's no surprise, I think we've got 25 Amazon reviews so far. So it goes up in half a star.
Yeah.
No star being 5 stars being 10 out of 10. And the 25 people who give reviews have give it 10 out of 10. So I've never had a book as good as that. And it's, you know, I'd like to say, yes, it's me, it's the Jamie Boyle show. I'm Mr. Narcissistic, but it wasn't. It was Mr. Thompson. He was just brutally honest. And even the chief sports writer from The Sun, who messaged me this morning, actually, but he read it in 3 nights, sat up at 3 o'clock, and he was like, wow, I can't believe he's addressed this and that, and fair play to the guy. And hopefully that will come across. And you know, as Tomo said, if I can help anyone out with depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts, and some really bad times that I wasn't aware of until I got on him, and I've known a lot of Alan Thompson for the last couple of years, then, you know, if some people can gain strength from that, then absolute fair play to the guy. Yes, there'll be a couple of people who use it against him. I've had 1 or 2 myself on Twitter because of him, but you know, but that's life. In anything in life worth doing, people will attack you. So listen, that guy played 26 games in an Old Firm derby, so it's nothing. It's nothing he can't handle, I imagine.
Yeah, and as I say, like he is a great guy, as is you, Jamie. Obviously, we've been speaking for a while and try to get you on. And in terms of Alan, I know you do an ultimate 11 in the book, and you know, who would you say stands out probably out of that team that you really enjoy playing with?
What, the team I played with?
Yeah, the ultimate team, throughout your career.
I think Henrik Larsson would be the one that, you know, who stands out.
How special is he?
I was just saying to someone on the podcast yesterday, the lad Ryan Clifford, who I'd done it with yesterday. I know other clubs well, Man United. Obviously, everyone knows how big a club Man United are. Eric Cantona is worshipped by Man United fans. Alan Shearer is worshipped by Newcastle fans. But for me, I haven't seen the adulation of a fan base for what the Celtic fan base is with Henrik, or has for Henrik. It's just astronomical. So he was special without a doubt. Yeah,
as I say, it's a fantastic book. As I say, it's full of highs and lows, as Jamie says. Get your copy now. Alan Thompson, a Geordie boy. It's available on Amazon, Warcry Publishing, and all the good book retailers. Listen, guys, one final thing to do is obviously the signed book to see who's going to win it. So I think the choice, we didn't have a lot of goals to pick from. I think everybody's still at work. Obviously, you've got the last minute screamer against Rangers off the underside of the bar. The Liverpool free kick at Anfield. You've got the Stuttgart goal, which Thomas is definitely not winning, and the Barcelona goal in the UEFA Cup. So, Alan, out of the choices, I mean, it might be a different goal that you would think, but out of the choices, what would you say?
I think the one that stands out for me is the one off the underside of the bar off Kloss. I think it was the 85, 86 minutes. It's 0-0. So it's just about wins you the game, doesn't it, with a couple of minutes left. So for it to be a special strike like that from outside the box, that was probably the pick.
Yeah, so as I say, congratulations to William Brawley. He'll be getting a signed copy of Alan's book. And as I say, we're available to download on Spotify. The podcast is available to download on Spotify and all other good, wherever you download your podcast from. We are all over the socials. Just search Celtic FC Appreciation on Facebook, on Twitter and Instagram, things like that. We'll be back on Sunday with our weekly roundup. It'll be the first show in a few weeks that we've done. So me and Paul's going to be back with one of my mates, Kieran, who's coming on to talk all things Celtic, about the new signings, about the winter break, about coming back after the winter break. But listen, guys, I know it's been a long show, and I really thanks for sticking around, kind of thing. And obviously, all the best for 2022.
Could I just say,
thanks for having us, Gaz, and all the best to all your viewers.
No worries.
Can I just say,
yeah, Jimmy.
I'm actually going to post the Go book out now, so I haven't had a chance for Tomo to sign it, but I'll sign it. So if you want to send me the address, William, want to send me the address, or do you want to send me a Gaz? I'll actually
I'll fire it over to you, mate.
Send me it now. I'll go post it now, and it'll be signed from me. And sorry, William. I know I'm not as exciting as Alan Thompson.
No, listen, Gaz, if you want to text us William's address, mate, I'll sign him one and post him it.
No worries, mate.
You sure?
That's superb.
I'll do that, yeah.
So you do it.
Superb, guys.
I'll do it, Jamie, yeah.
All right, okay then.
All right, pal.
Yeah. Absolutely. Listen, I've got a lot of business pages, so I'm going to share this on, and I'll put it on all the Celtic pages later, so we get a lot of people in there. Anything you need, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, superb, guys. And as I say,